In the dark and eerie depths of a hidden underground facility, DC's Killer Croc and SCP-096 were engaged in a fierce and intense battle. The towering white humanoid SCP-096 with long limbs and a terrifyingly blank face clashed with the massive and deadly Killer Croc. Killer Croc's yellow eyes glowed with a fierce predatory instinct as he used his reptilian physiology to his full advantage. His sharp claws, teeth, and powerful jaws savagely tore into SCP-96's skin, leaving deep scratches and dents. However, SCP-96's scaly armor, similar to a crocodile's, made it difficult for Killer Croc to inflict significant damage. As the battle raged on, SCP-096 grabbed Killer Croc by both of his legs and hurled him against the walls with tremendous force. The impact knocked Killer Croc unconscious, buried under a pile of rubble. As SCP-096 prepared to finish him off, a new challenger emerged. Marvel's lizard, also known as Connor in his reptilian form, suddenly appeared and launched himself at SCP-096. His razor-sharp teeth tore into SCP-96's head, crushing and shattering it with brutal efficiency. As SCP-096 lay in a crumpled heap, Marvel's lizard turned his attention to Killer Croc. The two reptilian villains faced off, using their claws, teeth, and powerful jaws to inflict damage on each other. Marvel's lizard had the added advantage of a powerful tail, which he used to deliver heavy strikes and batter Killer Croc relentlessly. With his agility and jumping abilities, Marvel's lizard dodged Killer Croc's attacks and landed on his back, pinning him down. Killer Croc struggled to free himself from Marvel's lizard's grip, but the relentless creature sank his teeth into Killer Croc's neck, aiming to tear his head apart. With a final savage bite, Marvel's lizard succeeded in decapitating Killer Croc, emerging victorious in the brutal battle. As the dust settled and the echoes of their roars faded away, Marvel's lizard stood triumphant over his fallen foes. His victory was a testament to his ferocity and skill in combat, solidifying his reputation as a formidable force to be reckoned with in the underground world of monstrous creatures. The event-driven narrative of the battle between Killer Croc, SCP-096, and Marvel's lizard captivated all who witnessed it, a thrilling spectacle of strength, agility, and sheer brutality. The complex creativity of the characters and their abilities added depth and excitement to the story, drawing readers into a dark and dangerous world where only the strongest survive. In the thrilling genre of the supernatural and monstrous, this battle between three formidable creatures showcased the raw power and deadly instincts that lurked in the shadows. The Clash of Titans, the Clash of Monsters, was a pulse-pounding tale of survival of the fittest, where only the most savage and ruthless could emerge victorious. Despite the violence and chaos that unfolded, the story remained free of profanity, hate speech, and other sensitive topics, focusing instead on the primal nature of the creatures and the thrill of their epic battle. It was a tale that left readers on the edge of their seats, craving more of the dark and twisted world where monsters roamed and clashed in fierce combat. Words. As the battle between Killer Croc and SCP-096 raged on in the dark and ominous underground facility, the sound of claws scraping against scaly armor filled the air. "I will tear you apart, beast." SCP-096 snarled as it struggled to penetrate Killer Croc's tough exterior. Killer Croc's yellow eyes glowed with a primal instinct as he used every advantage his reptilian physiology granted him. His claws dug deep into SCP-96's flesh, leaving gashes and scratches in its pale skin. But SCP-096 was relentless, grabbing Killer Croc by the legs and hurling him against the stone walls with immense force. The impact sent rubble flying, burying Killer Croc beneath a pile of debris. Gasping for breath, Killer Croc slowly pushed himself to his feet, his scaly armor protecting him from the worst of the damage. He growled in frustration as SCP-096 advanced on him, its haunting white face contorted in fury. Just as it seemed like all hope was lost for Killer Croc, a new challenger entered the fray. Marvel's lizard, a formidable reptilian villain in his own right, leapt into the room with a fierce roar. With lightning speed, Marvel's lizard sank his razor-sharp teeth into SCP-96's head, tearing it apart with brutal efficiency. The sound of bones crunching echoed through the chamber as SCP-096 fell to the ground in a lifeless heap. Marvel's lizard turned its predatory gaze towards Killer Croc, its eyes filled with a primal hunger. Killer Croc snarled in response, ready to defend himself against this new adversary. The two reptilian villains clashed with ferocious intensity, their sharp teeth and claws slashing and tearing at each other. Killer Croc's powerful jaws snapped shut dangerously close to Marvel's lizard's throat, but the agile creature dodged the attack with a swift leap. Marvel's lizard countered with a powerful tail strike, delivering a heavy blow to Killer Croc's side. The impact sent Killer Croc stumbling back, his scaly armor offering little protection against the forceful blow. Using his superior agility and speed, Marvel's lizard danced around Killer Croc, landing quick and precise strikes wherever he could. Killer Croc struggled to keep up with the relentless barrage of attacks, his frustration growing with each passing moment. But Marvel's lizard saved his most devastating move for last. With a mighty leap, he landed on Killer Croc's back, pinning him to the ground with his powerful weight. Killer Croc roared in defiance, trying to shake Marvel's lizard off of him. But the creature's grip was too strong, his jaws closing in on Killer Croc's head with lethal intent. In a final, brutal act of violence, Marvel's lizard bit down hard on Killer Croc's skull, tearing it apart with a sickening crunch. Blood sprayed across the chamber as Killer Croc's lifeless body slumped to the ground, defeated at last. Marvel's lizard stood triumphant, letting out a victorious roar that echoed through the underground facility. With his enemies vanquished, he turned and disappeared into the shadows, leaving behind a trail of destruction in his wake. Words. 530. In a deserted underground facility, DC's Killer Croc found himself locked in a fierce battle with SCP-096, a tall, skinny white humanoid with long limbs. The tension in the room was palpable as the two formidable foes clashed with all their might. Killer Croc's yellow eyes glowed with fierce predatory instinct as he used his reptilian physiology to his advantage. His sharp claws, teeth, and powerful jaws left deep scratches and dents in SCP-96's seemingly indestructible skin. Despite his best efforts, SCP-096 struggled to inflict any significant damage on the Killer Croc, whose scaly armor resembled that of a crocodile, a creature known for its deadly and ferocious nature. As the fight raged on, SCP-096 managed to grab hold of Killer Croc by the legs and hurl him against the walls with tremendous force. The impact left Killer Croc buried under a pile of rubble, but his scaly armor and resilient nature saved him from certain death. Just as SCP-096 prepared to deliver the final blow, a new challenger appeared on the scene, Marvel's lizard. The formidable reptilian villain wasted no time in sinking his powerful jaws into SCP-96's head, tearing it apart with brutal efficiency. With SCP-096 defeated, Marvel's lizard turned his attention to Killer Croc, ready to claim another victory. The two reptilian villains clashed in a savage and brutal showdown, using their sharp claws, teeth, and powerful jaws to inflict maximum damage on each other. Marvel's lizard, also equipped with a powerful tail, delivered heavy strikes and blows to Killer Croc, who struggled to fend off his agile and relentless opponent. With acrobatic prowess, Marvel's lizard dodged Killer Croc's attacks and landed on his back, immobilizing him. As Killer Croc fought to free himself from Marvel's lizard's grip, the villainous creature sank his sharp teeth into Killer Croc's head, tearing it apart with savage intensity. Despite a valiant effort, Killer Croc could not withstand the brutal onslaught of Marvel's lizard, who emerged victorious after a deafening victory roar. The underground facility fell silent as Marvel's lizard claimed his victory, his reptilian form exuding power and dominance. The thrilling battle had come to an end, leaving no doubt as to the fierce and deadly nature of these formidable creatures. As the dust settled, the echoes of the battle lingered in the air, a testament to the raw power and brutality of the reptilian villains who had faced off in a clash of titans. The event-driven narrative had captivated all who witnessed it, leaving them in awe of the complex creativity and thrilling spectacle that had unfolded before their eyes. Words. 454. As the battle between DC's Killer Croc and SCP-096 raged on, the two monstrous beings clashed with incredible force. The sound of their roars echoed through the dark, dimly lit room, creating an atmosphere of tension and fear. Killer Croc's yellow eyes glowed with predatory instinct as he used his reptilian physiology to his advantage, slashing and biting at SCP-096 with his claws and sharp teeth. However, SCP-096, with its long limbs and deadly strength, proved to be a formidable opponent, causing Killer Croc to struggle to inflict any significant damage. Just as it seemed like Killer Croc was being overwhelmed by SCP-96's relentless attacks, Marvel's lizard appeared out of nowhere, lunging at SCP-096 with ferocity. The lizard, with its own reptilian abilities and cunning, quickly gained the upper hand, biting and tearing at SCP-96's head with brutal efficiency. The room was filled with the sounds of growls, roars, and the sickening crunch of bones as the battle between the three terrifying creatures reached its climax. As Killer Croc watched in shock and awe at the display of power from Marvel's lizard, he couldn't help but feel a surge of respect for his fellow reptilian villain. However, the lizard's victory over SCP-096 only served to fuel Killer Croc's own desire for dominance. As Marvel's lizard turned its attention to him, Killer Croc prepared himself for a new battle, determined to prove his own worth as a powerful and deadly predator. The two reptilian villains faced off, claws and teeth bared, ready to engage in a brutal and bloody fight. Marvel's lizard, with its agile movements and powerful tail, struck at Killer Croc with precision and speed, causing the larger reptile to struggle to keep up. Killer Croc, however, used his own strength and cunning to counter the lizard's attacks, trading blow for blow in a display of raw power and ferocity. As the battle raged on, the room became filled with the scent of blood and sweat, as the two creatures fought with all their might. Killer Croc's scaly armor protected him from some of the lizard's sharp strikes, but he could feel the pain and strain of each blow as he fought to overpower his opponent. The lizard, with his relentless assault and unyielding determination, pushed Killer Croc to his limits, forcing the larger reptile to dig deep within himself for the strength to continue the fight. Finally, after what felt like hours of brutal combat, Marvel's lizard gained the upper hand, pinning Killer Croc to the ground with his powerful claws. As Killer Croc struggled to break free, the lizard lunged forward, sinking his teeth into Killer Croc's neck with a final, devastating bite. The room fell silent as the lizard stood victorious over his fallen opponent, letting out a triumphant roar to signify his dominance. As the adrenaline of battle faded, Marvel's lizard turned and made his way out of the room, leaving behind the defeated body of Killer Croc. As the dust settled and the echoes of their battle faded, Killer Croc's body lay motionless on the ground, a testament to the ferocity and power of the reptilian creatures that had clashed in that dark, shadowy room. And so, the tale of the battle between Killer Croc, SCP-096, and Marvel's lizard would go down in history as a thrilling and brutal display of primal combat. Words. 586. In the depths of a dark and sinister underground facility, two terrifying creatures were engaged in a brutal battle that shook the very walls around them. Killer Croc, the monstrous villain from DC Universe, with his scaly armor and razor-sharp teeth, clashed with SCP-096, the tall, skinny white humanoid with long limbs and a face covered by a veil. Killer Croc's yellow eyes glowed with fierce predatory instinct as he lunged at SCP-096, using his reptilian physiology to his full advantage. His claws slashed and teeth gnashed, leaving deep scratches on SCP-96's skin. But the creature seemed unfazed, its regenerative abilities keeping it strong and resilient against the deadly attacks. In a desperate attempt to gain the upper hand, SCP-096 grabbed Killer Croc by both legs and hurled him against the walls with tremendous force. The impact caused Rebel to fall on top of the crocodile-like villain, who lay motionless beneath the debris. Just as SCP-096 prepared to deliver the final blow, a new challenger entered the fray. Marvel's lizard, also known as Dr. Kurt Connors in his reptilian form, leapt into the room and sank his powerful jaws into SCP-96's head, tearing it apart with brutal efficiency. As SCP-096 lay defeated on the ground, Marvel's lizard turned his attention to Killer Croc, ready to face the monstrous villain in combat. The two reptilian creatures clashed, their claws flashing and teeth clashing as they fought for dominance in the underground chamber. Marvel's lizard's tail lashed out, delivering heavy strikes to Killer Croc's scaly armor, causing the villain to roar in pain. But Killer Croc fought back, using his brute strength to try and overpower his opponent. However, Marvel's lizard's agility and speed allowed him to dodge the attacks and land on Killer Croc's back, pinning him to the ground. Killer Croc struggled to dislodge his adversary, but Marvel's lizard's powerful jaws clamped down on his head, tearing flesh and bone with terrifying ease. With a final vicious twist of his neck, Marvel's lizard severed Killer Croc's head from his body, the room filled with the sounds of snapping bones and rending flesh. As the dust settled and the echoing roars of the battle faded away, Marvel's lizard emerged victorious, standing tall over the lifeless bodies of his fallen foes. With a triumphant roar, he proclaimed his dominance over the underground domain, a fearsome creature of night and shadow. And so, the tale of the epic battle between Killer Croc, SCP-096, and Marvel's lizard was etched into the annals of supernatural history, a testament to the savage power and relentless fury of these monstrous beings. In the dark recesses of the underground facility, their actions would be remembered for eternity, a saga of bloodshed, brutality, and triumph in the shadows. Words. 441. As Connor, also known as Marvel's lizard, stood victorious over the defeated Killer Croc, he let out a triumphant roar, his long tail swishing in satisfaction. The room was filled with the sounds of heavy breathing and the faint rumble of crumbling walls. Killer Croc lay motionless on the ground, his once fierce yellow eyes now dull and lifeless. Connor slowly backed away, his reptilian form shimmering in the dim light of the room. Suddenly, a voice echoed through the chamber. Well. Looks like we have ourselves a new contender. Both Connor and Killer Croc's eyes snapped to the source of the voice. Standing in the doorway was none other than Carnage, the notoriously unpredictable symbiote villain from the Marvel Universe. Who the hell are you? Connor growled, his tail lashing out in warning. Relax, lizard boy. I'm just here to have a little fun, Carnage said with a sinister grin, his red tendrils writhing with excitement. Before Connor could react, Carnage lunged forward, the symbiote tendrils wrapping around him in a deadly embrace. Connor thrashed and roared, trying to break free, but Carnage's grip was too tight. Let him go. A voice boomed from behind Carnage. Both Carnage and Connor turned to see the imposing figure of Batman stepping into the room, his cape billowing behind him like a shadowy specter. You don't want to mess with me, Carnage. Let the lizard go, Batman warned, his voice low and menacing. Carnage chuckled darkly, tightening his hold on Connor even more. I don't think so, Batbrain. This lizard is mine now. With a swift movement, Batman reached for his utility belt and pulled out a small device. With a click of a button, the room was filled with a blinding light, momentarily disorienting Carnage. Seizing the opportunity, Connor broke free from Carnage's grasp and lunged forward, sinking his powerful jaws into Carnage's flesh. Carnage shrieked in agony, trying to pry Connor off him, but the relentless lizard villain would not let go. Batman watched in grim satisfaction as Carnage writhed and screamed, finally succumbing to the unyielding grip of the Marvel's lizard. With a final roar of triumph, Connor emerged victorious once again. Well done, lizard, Batman said, nodding in approval. Connor nodded in return, his reptilian eyes gleaming with a fierce intelligence. As he turned to leave the room, he couldn't help but feel a sense of pride in his victory. He may be a monster, but he was a monster with a purpose. And no one, not even the likes of Carnage, could stand in his way. Words. 561. In the dark and eerie underground tunnels of Gotham City, DC's Killer Croc roamed the shadows, his yellow eyes glowing with a fierce predatory instinct. As he prowled through the dimly lit passages, his scaly armor glistened in the faint light, ready to do battle with any who dared to challenge him. Suddenly, a loud roar echoed through the tunnels, sending shivers down Killer Croc's spine. He whipped around to see SCP-096, a tall, skinny white humanoid with long limbs, charging towards him. The two predators clashed, their claws and teeth gleaming in the darkness as they fought for dominance. Killer Croc used his reptilian physiology to his full advantage, slashing and biting at SCP-96's skin with his powerful jaws. But SCP-096, with its eerie white eyes and supernatural strength, proved to be a formidable opponent. It grabbed Killer Croc by the legs and hurled him against the walls with brute force, causing him to crumble to the ground in a heap of rubble. Just as SCP-096 prepared to deliver the finishing blow, a new challenger emerged from the shadows. Marvel's lizard, a fearsome reptilian villain with a powerful tail and razor-sharp teeth, lunged at SCP-096 with ferocious speed. In a flurry of claws and teeth, Marvel's lizard tore SCP-96's head apart, shattering it into pieces with brutal efficiency. As the dust settled, Killer Croc regained his senses, his scaly armor proving to be his saving grace once again. SCP-096 lay defeated at his feet, a gruesome sight of torn flesh and shattered bones. Marvel's lizard roared in triumph, the sound echoing through the tunnels as he turned his gaze towards Killer Croc. A new challenge awaited Killer Croc as Marvel's lizard advanced on him, his sharp teeth and powerful tail poised for battle. The two reptilian villains clashed in a whirlwind of violence, their claws slashing and jaws snapping as they fought for supremacy. But Marvel's lizard had the upper hand, using his agility and jumping prowess to dodge Killer Croc's attacks. With a swift maneuver, he landed on Killer Croc's back, sinking his teeth into the villain's neck with a savage bite. Killer Croc roared in pain, struggling to dislodge Marvel's lizard from his back. In a final, desperate attempt to free himself, Killer Croc thrashed and flailed, but it was too late. Marvel's lizard's jaws closed around his head, tearing it apart with brutal force. With a victorious roar, Marvel's lizard emerged as the undisputed champion of the underground tunnels, his reptilian form radiating power and dominance. As the echoes of battle faded away, a tense silence settled over the tunnels, broken only by the soft hiss of Killer Croc's lifeless body. The dark and sinister creatures that lurked in the shadows had witnessed a spectacle of blood and gore, a deadly dance of predators locked in a fight to the death. And in the darkness, Marvel's lizard stood victorious, his triumph etched in the twisted remains of his fallen foes. As he basked in the afterglow of victory, the dangerous and unpredictable world of underground Gotham City pulsed with the thrill of the hunt, a relentless cycle of violence and survival that would continue to unfold in the shadows of the night. Pause. The dimly lit underground chamber echoed with the sounds of a fierce battle. Killer Croc's yellow eyes glowed with predatory instinct as he squared off against the tall, skinny, and white-skinned humanoid known as SCP-096. The air crackled with tension as the two formidable beings clashed, using their extraordinary abilities to gain the upper hand. Killer Croc's scaly armor-like skin, reminiscent of a crocodile's tough hide, proved to be a formidable defense against SCP-96's relentless attacks. The reptilian villain used his sharp claws, powerful jaws, and teeth to dent and scratch the skin of SCP-096, but the humanoid creature seemed unfazed, his long limbs moving with uncanny speed and precision. As the battle raged on, SCP-096 managed to grab Killer Croc by both legs, hoisting him into the air and hurling him against the unforgiving walls of the chamber. The force of the impact sent rubble cascading around Killer Croc, who lay still for a moment before slowly rising to his feet, his scaly armor protecting him from serious harm. Just as SCP-096 advanced on the dazed Killer Croc, a new challenger entered the fray. Marvel's Lizard, a fearsome reptilian villain in his own right, pounced on SCP-096, sinking his sharp teeth into the humanoid's head and tearing it apart with brutal efficiency. The chamber was filled with the sounds of screams and the sickening crunch of bone as Marvel's Lizard unleashed his savage fury on SCP-096. As SCP-096 lay broken and defeated at his feet, Marvel's Lizard turned his attention to Killer Croc, his reptilian form exuding a dangerous aura. The two villains locked eyes, each sensing the formidable opponent before them. With a deafening roar, Marvel's Lizard launched himself at Killer Croc, his powerful tail lashing out to deliver heavy strikes against the crocodile-like villain. Killer Croc retaliated with a ferocious display of strength and agility, using his claws, teeth, and jaws to fend off Marvel's Lizard's relentless attacks. The chamber reverberated with the sounds of their clash, the air thick with tension and the scent of blood as the two powerful creatures battled for dominance. Marvel's Lizard, with his nimble movements and deadly precision, managed to evade Killer Croc's strikes, leaping onto his back and sinking his powerful jaws into the crocodile's neck. Killer Croc thrashed and struggled, trying to dislodge his foe, but Marvel's Lizard's grip was unyielding. With a final, savage twist of his head, Marvel's Lizard ripped Killer Croc's head from his body, the sound of tearing flesh and snapping bones echoing through the chamber. As Killer Croc fell lifeless to the ground, Marvel's Lizard let out a triumphant roar, the victor of the brutal battle. As the dust settled and the echoes of the battle faded, Marvel's Lizard stood alone in the silent chamber, his reptilian form glistening with the blood of his fallen foes. With a contented hiss, he turned and slithered away into the shadows, leaving behind nothing but the memories of the fierce and deadly confrontation that had taken place. Words, 528. Words, 509. As the battle between Killer Croc and SCP-096 raged on, the room was filled with the sound of tearing flesh and growls of anger. Killer Croc's yellow eyes glowed with predatory instinct as he lashed out with his claws, sharp teeth, and powerful jaws, trying to dent and scratch SCP-96's seemingly invulnerable skin. Why won't you die? Killer Croc roared, frustration evident in his voice as he continued to attack SCP-096, who seemed unfazed by the onslaught. SCP-096, for its part, struggled to damage Killer Croc, its long limbs flailing about as it attempted to grab hold of the reptilian villain. Finally managing to grab both of Killer Croc's legs, SCP-096 threw him against the wall with a grunt of effort, causing rubble to fall down upon the defeated crocodile man. As Killer Croc groggily picked himself up from the debris, his scaly armor-like skin proving to be his saving grace, SCP-096 stepped forward, its white, slender frame towering over him menacingly. It let out a deafening roar, causing Killer Croc to bristle with anger. But before SCP-096 could make a move, another challenger entered the fray. Marvel's Lizard, also known as Connor in his reptilian form, launched himself at SCP-096, sinking his sharp teeth into the humanoid's head and tearing it apart with brutal efficiency. The sound of bones crunching filled the room as Marvel's Lizard crushed SCP-96's skull with his powerful jaws. As Marvel's Lizard turned to face Killer Croc, a feral grin on his face, the two reptilian villains locked eyes. Connor wasted no time in attacking, using his claws, teeth, and tail to deliver crushing blows to Killer Croc, who struggled to defend himself against the agile and powerful opponent. Let's see what you're made of, crocodile, Connor hissed, his voice laced with malice as he lunged at Killer Croc, who roared in defiance. The two reptilian beings clashed, their savage fight echoing through the room as they tore at each other with ferocity. Killer Croc tried to overpower Connor with his brute strength, but the Marvel's Lizard's agility and precision proved to be too much for him to handle. With a swift and brutal move, Connor landed on Killer Croc's back, pinning him down with his weight and immobilizing him. Killer Croc thrashed beneath him, desperate to shake off his adversary, but Connor held on tight, his jaws inches away from Killer Croc's throat. You put up a good fight, crocodile, but it's time to end this, Connor snarled, his eyes gleaming with victory as he clamped his jaws down on Killer Croc's head, tearing it apart with a sickening crunch. As the lifeless body of Killer Croc crumpled to the ground, Connor let out a triumphant roar, his victory complete. The room fell silent, save for the sound of his victorious cry echoing through the empty space. And in that moment, Marvel's Lizard stood tall and proud, the ultimate predator in a world full of monsters.